Did you ever read the column Dear Anne while growing up, or was I the only child who ran every week to read it? Today, I wanted to recreate the magic of that column, but with a twist. Through this podcast episode, we're digging into some pressing and juicy questions submitted by listeners like yourself. Joining me today to get to the bottom of these questions is my friend Erica Spitali. Erica is a talent strategist and culture connoisseur. She has deep expertise in talent development, coaching, organizational design, and change management. Most recently, she was the VP of Talent and Employee Experience at EmployBridge. She has a master's in IO psychology and a doctorate in clinical psychology and is a licensed clinical psychologist. Erica leverages her impressive expertise and skills to empower and support employees at all levels, especially during times of change and uncertainty. Damn, Erica, seriously, I'm in awe of you. I can't believe you agreed to be my friend and join me for this podcast.
How could I not? Thank you so much for having me. And the feeling is mutual, my friend.
I'm so pumped you're here. I kind of want to do an episode maybe next season where I bring you on and we do it like a whole therapy session and you tell me why I am the way that I am.
Done.
Is that acceptable?
Yeah, but can we call it something different?
Yeah, can we call it like, I don't know, I'll have to think of something creative. Why am I this way? Just an episode about all the ways and the things I do and why I do them. I'm pretty honest.
How about we call it something like the exploration and the inner workings of Hiba Yusa?
Oh my God. Yeah. Let's go. Okay, so you've heard it here first. Erica's going to join me next season to do an episode all about my favorite subject, me. Not HR. Okay, anyways, we should get to today's topic because I feel like Erica and I are just going to have a blast. The first time Erica and I met, it was supposed to be a 30-minute meeting. I think we lasted an hour. And we talked about everything.
Everything.
I left and I was like, that's my new friend. And then you went off and had to live your life and do a lot of really important things that year. So it's totally fine. Okay, getting to my opening question. I've been asking every single guest this season, what's one thing a company could do that would make you want to quit?
So many things. I think the first thing that comes to mind is to ask me to say or do anything that does not align with my values.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's fair. That is fair. Yep. Mm-hmm. I'm now like thinking about every moment I've been triggered to quit in a job, and that is absolutely what it comes down to. I feel like it took me a long time to realize that. Like I didn't do that as exercise of like mapping my core values until a few years ago. And once I did, I like can't unsee it.
No.
I'm like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to lie for you.
Yeah. I'm not going to put a cherry on top of this cake. Like what?
This poop cake. Yes, the shit sandwich. We can say shit here.
Okay, perfect.
It's cool. It's a cool podcast. Okay, anyways, I love that. That is very true. And I think that aligns with a lot of the listeners of the podcast. Like if it's in disagreement with our values, we're not doing it. We're done.
Yeah.
Okay, so now for today. So today's a little different. We're going to answer some of these questions that are coming in, and we're just going to share our raw thoughts because I think a lot of them are really important. And if you want to submit your questions, we'll make sure that there's a way for you can do it in the show notes. So let's dig in. Erica, question 1. We have an employee that is clearly not happy based on behavior. However, a few things they do rise to the level of write-up offenses. Mostly, it's just toxic passive-aggressive behavior or simply not doing what they are asked and then claiming ignorance of the request. Coaching has not been impactful, nor have the very few write-ups. How do we terminate without opening ourselves up for wrongful termination or retaliation claims? And here's the context I think we need for the question. It's a small nonprofit, under 100 employees in public education. They're located in Colorado, so we have some unique rules to follow in some cases. Erica, what do you think?
Okay. Wow. Okay. So this is probably
coming in hot.
100%. And I think this is where my psychologist like hat always stays on because I have so many questions still, even with like this information. And so like the first thing that comes to mind is, how do you know the employee is unhappy? Like, have they said that? I guess is like the follow up, right? Like, or has the employee been asked this directly? And the reason why I say that or ask that is because to presume emotion based on behavior is a slippery slope. There could be underlying reasons why you're seeing these behaviors that, yes, present as unhappiness, but actually may not be the root cause of. So that's me digging just a little bit deeper. Again, inner workings, right? We're doing our episode. Okay. And then I also want to know, like, okay, if termination is clearly on the table because what's happening is unacceptable, has the employee been asked if they want to work there any longer? Because what I've found is that some people, for whatever their personal reasons are waiting for the company to make the decision for them.
Mm-hmm.
There is something that is not motivating enough for that employee to come forward themselves to say, I opt out. So they are actually doing or behaving in ways that will hopefully, in certain situations, get them to that endpoint without them having to have said that.
Yeah, I've done that.
Done.
Okay. Guilty.
Yes. So I'm just curious, like, has this even been given as an option? And I think beyond that, right? So let's just say yes to all these questions. Like, they've been asked, they've admitted, yes, unhappiness, but yet, termination may or may not be something that they want, what have you. But look, I think at the end of the day, and this is where I'm like, want to phone a friend for employee relations, because this is exactly why I did not get into this segment of people ops, because no, thank you. Yeah, I would legal. You're going to need legal. Like, we are not meant to do this work alone. Like, let me say that like really loudly. And again, we are not meant to do this work alone. I don't care what the topic is. I don't care if it's about termination. I don't care if it's about promotion. I don't care if it's about growth and development. We are not successful alone, and we are not meant to do this work alone. So legal needs to become your best friend, especially because of the context that this individual gave around the state they live in. So I don't know the Colorado laws, but I know there's laws, like, right? And so what are they? What are you able to do? What should you have been doing? And hopefully you've been doing it to get you to this point, so that if termination is the only option, you are able to do it fluidly. And then I also think too, the nonprofit sector, that is another beast in and of itself. So what are the parameters, policies, processes around that, coupled or married with Colorado laws that give you what your options are, and how do you navigate that in a humane way? Because here's the other thing. If again, termination is truly the only solution, how do you do that so that this person is able to exit gracefully despite what has happened inside of those walls?
Oh, so you mean there's a humane way to terminate employees? Wow. Shocking.
I mean,
There is. You just laid it out for us. I think it's really interesting because I joke oftentimes, like, I could go to law school. I mean, also everyone who listens to this knows I have like a high level of delulu. Like, I could be president. But like the law piece is like, I don't mess around with that. And there are state laws. Like, I do not think any HR person, unless you are like the employee relations person, is capable of knowing at the nuance of every single state and every single state law to make sure that they've covered their risk correctly. So I also definitely agree, like, you should talk to a lawyer, especially in a state of Colorado. We know they have very specific laws, just like California and New York. You don't want to mess around. And I just think coming back, there is a humane way to do it. Like, hey, you don't seem happy here. Like, if you don't seem happy here, can we help you exit gracefully? And maybe that's all the employee needs to hear. Like, yeah, I'll take some severance and go.
Yep. Hands down.
It can go a long way. Okay. Oh, one last thing. And I love that you brought that up at the very beginning. The not happy based on behavior. I hate when people come to me and they're like, I want to put this person on a PIP. They're just like not positive enough. And I'm like, excuse me? That's not a core qualification to do their job. So I think like a lot of times there are some behavioral issues that we, with our own bias, want people to behave a certain way. And you have to remember that in your lens when a manager comes to you and is like, I'm having employee problems. You need to dig into the behavioral piece. What's been observed, what's been stated, what's in your values. Like, our values could be a really good North Star for you.
Sorry, 100%. I was just going to add to that, like, just not like, let's not play the assumption game. And I'm not suggesting that this individual did, but we only have a limited amount of information, right? So my PSA is just like, hey, let's make sure we know this to be true.
Yeah. When you assume you make an ass out of you and me, that stupid saying that I think of at least once a week.
Like, it helped me spell it correctly every time I needed to.
I was like, just so everyone knows, we can't do this. Okay. We came in hot with that first one, and I'm just getting a little hotter. Here's question 2. I have a boss who is trying to save a toxic leader, but they need to go. The boss is the only person who sees value in this person. The morale is waning. We have people leaving. And as a senior leader, what do I do to make the boss understand what this person is doing to our company culture? And here's the context. It's a $6.5 million a year franchise restaurant industry, highly successful food chain, super particular about owner, operators, and culture driven. And if your mind didn't just jump to figure out where this person works, because that's where my brain went, but I'm not trying to get sued today, so we're not going to go that alley. We're not going to go down that rabbit hole. Erica, what do you think?
No. Okay. So we're twins, because I literally was like, does this person work? Yes. And like have
Juicy.
many thoughts. But like, what is this 2024? Like, are we still saving, quote unquote, toxicity in the form of people, in the form of leaders, for the sake of what? Like, why?
Louder for the people in the back.
Like, oh, have we not, like, I mean, honestly, like, we are all very tired, and have we all just not had enough? I just have a really hard time understanding what we are still willing to tolerate, as if life isn't hard enough.
My soul.
I mean, and the amount of time, I mean, we say this all the time, the amount of time we spend at work, there is nothing you can do to convince me that something like this is something worth saving.
Yes. Agreed.
So, I mean,
okay. One thing I will say, this tactic, like, you tell me if you think this is a good tactic or not. I would go to the boss and be like, hey, this person is a reflection of you. Would you stake your reputation on the line for this person? And if the answer is no, then you should be like, great, you wouldn't want your reputation associated with them. That means they have to go.
Done.
Especially if like the toxic behavior is like multiple people have observed it. Like, to me, this might be like really harsh. It's only a matter of time before that toxic leader probably does something that is a terminated offense.
And irreparable.
How do we know? Yeah. And at that point, how do you even win back trust? So I would make this conversation with the boss around 2 things. It's their reputation as well that's on the line, and that it's harming the broader company culture. And the second thing I would say is that, wow, I started a sentence. I didn't actually know where I was going to go with the rest of my. I had a second thing in my head and it disappeared. It's been a day already. The trust. I think trust, like, I keep mentioning this, but Minda Harts is writing a book on trust in the workplace. It's supposed to come out later this year. I can't wait. I love her. But trust is everything. And once it is lost, regaining it is an uphill battle. And as HR and leaders, we already start from a negative trust zone.
Yep.
Because people are bringing their like past trauma and baggage into the workplace, and they've been treated badly in the past. And they probably don't think very highly of leadership. I think the average person like doesn't think very highly of leaders or HR. So like, we're already in a negative trust zone. So now we need to go to the positive trust zone. And you have this toxic person who one person is advocating for. That's an automatic, they got to go for me.
100%. First of all, if that is not a convincing enough argument to be able to have to hitch your horse to someone that, right, like, that is doing things that potentially you would never, I don't know what is. But on the off chance that it isn't a strong enough argument, let's just assume for a second, because we've all worked for companies where, for whatever reason, the detachment of personal identity and company identity is so prevalent, where if you start to use language because someone subscribes very deeply to what the company believes in, sometimes that is also a very convincing argument. So something to the effect of, you talk about our values. You say you believe in our company's values. We are a culturally driven organization. Is this the culture that we are speaking of and that we are trying to spread across the $6.5 million we're bringing in? So I agree with you. I think it's one of two, right? And if those two aren't it, then just send help.
Just send help. It's really interesting. Like, I've had this conversation with like all my good friends, which is probably just going to make people laugh. But I've told all my good friends, like, if I ever work somewhere and I hire you, or like I start my own business and I hire you, I just want you to be very clear. Like, if you mess things up and you're a bad person and you treat people badly, I will fire you. Like, all my good friends know. And I'm just like, that is the basis I set with my friends who I don't even do business with. They just know, like, if I'm ever to hire you, you're a reflection of me. And I think like a lot of leaders should think about that too, because their team is a reflection of them.
Yep.
And like ultimately in quiet rooms where you are not and your team is, that is still reflective of your leadership style, how you behave, the things you tolerate. And I would really bring it back to the leader themselves. Like, hey, you don't stand for this. So why are you supporting it?
100%. And what's so interesting about what you just said too is I don't know why that concept gets lost so easily, because it's actually inherent in how we are brought up in society. Like, if you ever looked at a child and been like, where are their parents?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's no different. And not like, look, we're talking about adults here, but the relationship dynamic, the power dynamic has some commonalities. And so it is no different than how we are observing people outside of the corporate walls. So why would we expect and or tolerate anything different?
Yeah. Oh, that's such a good point. Okay, well, good luck to this person. Sorry, that's so mean. Another juicy one. I really got some juicy ask questions for this episode. Okay. A higher up is fabricating details to get another employee a promotion that requires certain skills, duties, and a degree of which this person does not have. They are both knowingly lying. The higher up is also approving this person's timesheet, the person of which is not claiming time off when they are not in the office, and the higher up is approving that timesheet, showing no time off. Should I do something about this? I can't go to HR as the person possibly getting promotions is friends with the head of HR. My God, this is, dear God. And here's the context. It's about a 500-person org, 5 different office locations, a state agency, and the chairman of the agency is appointed by the governor. I'm sorry, I'm laughing, but like, should I be reading this during this podcast? Is that corruption? Like, I shouldn't be laughing. Someone's going to ask me for details on who this is. By the way, if you come looking for me, all of it was anonymously submitted. There's no way of tracking it back. So, sorry. I read this and like every line that went on, my jaw dropped even further, from the fabricating the skills, duties, and degree to then approving incorrect timesheets, which is time theft, to bottom line of I can't go to HR because the person getting the promotions is friends with the head of HR.
I'm literally like, when is this Netflix special coming out?
They actually contacted me. I'm writing the script right now.
Perfect.
It's called The Time Thieves. What's the thieves? What's the plural of thieves? Wow. This episode is unhinged. For people listening, we usually have this much fun, but we're having especially a lot of fun today. I truly don't know where to start with this one.
Other than run? Like run fast?
Here's what I would ask. Is there an anonymous reporting vehicle where you don't have, so like, as I'm reading this, like the fabricating requirements literally and time theft, very illegal, like could be reported anonymously. I don't know the inner workings of this organization. The part of this question that actually terrified me the most was I can't go to HR.
Yes.
What are they there for if you can't go to HR?
A friendship should not preclude what is right.
It's like I knew this was coming. I
Right.
did.
The fact that that's the case makes me so incredibly sad for the people that have to work in this environment. Because just as you mentioned, friendship or not, first of all, a friend would not, you are also a reflection of me. If I'm going to claim you as a friend, oh, you better be coming with it. Like,
Yeah.
don't embarrass me.
How in any, like, if anyone came to me as the head of HR, I don't care who you are. If you're doing something illegal, you are being reported.
Yeah.
Like that is it. And Jessica Winder, who was on the podcast earlier this season, we were talking about how she ended up on the Reddit subreddit about LinkedIn lunatics because she said HR is not your friend. And this is like one instance where I'm like, yeah, I'm not your friend. You're committing literal lying, wage theft. It's inappropriate, and it actually could really damage the organization legally.
Yeah. And you're willing to put me at risk because I'm the head of HR?
No, thank you. So to the person who wrote this question in, I would say if you have any sort of anonymous way of reporting it, I absolutely would. The second thing is, wow, corruption's alive and well. It's a government agency. Can I get sued for this? I'm kidding.
I completely agree with you. I was absolutely thinking, like, is there a way that you can align to your values by saying something, but also protect yourself? Like, in the back of my mind, I'm like, ooh, you are not obligated to become personally involved in this. But especially if the situation makes you uncomfortable, at the same time, kudos to you for, acknowledging the wrongdoings of this situation. But I would also just say to whomever this person is, please, please, please prioritize your safety and well-being throughout this process if you choose to do something about it. If you don't, nobody would judge you. Like, let's be clear, because you are not the only one who is aware of this. There's no way you are.
There's a power dynamic right now.
Yes.
Absolutely. I feel like this could be a whole episode, honestly, but I'm going to leave that one. I love the way you ended it. Take care of yourself, the person who submitted this, and also know that like you can decide what you want to do.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. This one, a little less spicy, but I think really relevant to the theme I've been writing about all quarter about why people leave companies. How do you manage professional development for small companies that have little room to grow? Because there are only but so many roles within an organization. Can you even develop a development plan that helps someone feel like they are growing and learning, although they aren't getting promoted to the next level because someone would have to leave for that opportunity to arise? And it's a company of 55 people. Typical levels are individual contributor, manager, director, and VP.
Yeah, that's tricky. I mean,
but not illegal. So I'm happy with this question.
Yeah, this one we can help you solve. Yeah.
Yeah. The other ones, please talk to someone. A professional, not I.
Yeah, exactly. No, this one's tricky. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind for me is communication is paramount, right? From the onset, because some folks don't, when they, even apply or are looking at smaller companies, don't truly realize the reality of what that may mean in terms of growth opportunities, right? And so I think it's inherent upon the company to be honest and transparent about what growth means there, which obviously means different things for different places and spaces. And so I would continue to maintain that open communication with employees about their development and their goals, but also coupling that with the limitations of the company structure. Because look, my philosophy about growth and development, which I know is very similar to yours, Hiba, is as a company, you do right by your employees by giving them as many opportunities as possible, being honest about what those opportunities are, even if it means opportunities outside of your company. Mm-hmm. Your responsibility is still growth and development, even if someone decides to opt out post growth and development. You have then done a successful job as a company. But to limit it and or to restrict it based on hierarchy is like a no-go, especially now, right? Like the hierarchy and the structure should not be dictating people's growth and development opportunities. I also say that to say you can get creative. Like, and you've talked a lot about this, but like if promotion is the only way that folks in your organization see growth, you've got some overhauling to do, right? If you truly don't believe that, right? How do you market? How do you rebrand your organization as a growth and development hub, but give folks different ideas and options as to what growth and development means?
Yeah. I feel like we really messed up as an industry when we conflate promotion with growth. I think it's so short-sighted. There are so many ways someone can grow, from learning a new skill to taking a new course to sitting in on different discussions happening at work to getting visibility into a new project to learning about what a go-to-market strategy looks like. Like, right, there's so many opportunities, and it doesn't have to be promotion. I also love what you said at the very beginning. Be transparent. If you're a 55-person company and you do not have anywhere to promote anybody, you should just say that. Hey, we're a small and lean machine. It means that we might not have promotions to the next level because we have someone there, but what we're committed to do as an organization is help you learn new skills to set you up for success here and potentially somewhere else.
That part.
It's really that easy, but people are so afraid to do it.
Yeah.
But like, here's the thing. I think like you can be afraid to have those hard conversations, but I'm actually more afraid of what happens when we don't have the conversation. That's where you're losing. Like, that's the negative now. Now I'm in the negative. How am I going to get to zero? How am I going to get to positive? When you are afraid to have those conversations and just tell the employee straight up, like, we don't have a next step for you. Yeah. But what we do have are these other brilliant opportunities that we're willing to expose you to. And I think the hard part too, like with startups, like when I interview people for Work Week, I say like, hey, startups, I've done 4. Yes, I think there's something wrong with me, but I've done 4 because my career has grown substantially at each startup I have been at. And that has been just a privilege for me to be able to do that. Sometimes there is not that next step and you have to leave. I have left startups because they're that next step, somebody is there, and I leave and I take that job somewhere else. So I think just saying that to the employees goes so much further than being like, we'll promote you in 2 years. And in reality, there's nothing in 2 years to promote them to.
100%.
It's not going to work. Okay, cool. Here, my next question. We're crushing these questions, by the way. I felt so sneaky putting this one in. I'm sorry, I'm giggling to myself. What is an impactful way to encourage our CEO to offer health benefits? We've had numerous candidates decline and employees leave because of the lack of benefits/maternity leave. Now, I will tell you, when I read this question, my first thought went to, I know the gender of the CEO. But hold up, let me give you the context. The context is it's a small company, it's less than 20 employees, it's privately owned, and it's all women employees. Founder is also the CEO and makes all business decisions, but heavily prioritizes the marketing department and shows little interest or commitment in implementing proper HR practices and policies. When I first read the question, I was like, that's a male CEO. And then I read the context and I was like, I'm biased. It's like literally how it happened in my head. I was like, God damn, it's a male CEO. And then I read the context and I was like, oh, bias. We all have it.
Everyone.
Get it on a t-shirt.
I just don't even understand this. Like, I'm like, wait, did I hear you correctly? All women employee driven organization and no mat leave, and not just maternity leave, but like no benefits.
Maternity, yeah, and bad benefits, yeah.
So, is this The Handmaid's Tale?
Oh, don't. I can't watch that show anymore because it gave me such bad anxiety. Although if a new season comes out, I'm going to watch it. I'm just going to be anxious the whole time and then disassociate with my life. I was like a little shook to see this one because I write about this quite a bit too. Like, the US is one of 6 countries in the world that does not offer some form of paid paternity leave. And now we have states that are offering it more, but at a federal level, we definitely don't have it. And I think just for people who are starting companies, if you want to recruit and have the most like diverse and inclusive company possible, not thinking about how you support caregivers is an absolute missed opportunity.
100%. I mean, yeah, the first thought was like, Okay, even, I don't even know how to say this. Whatever lifestyle you subscribe to is yours. But to not support through offerings the variety of lifestyles that exist is insane to me, just because it may not apply to you.
It is very hard to get people to understand other people's lived experiences, as you and I both know. I don't know, like, what's the psychologist way of approaching this? I feel like empathy is at an all-time low sometimes. And a lot of these leaders and founders become leaders and founders, and because they had a great idea, or they got venture capital funding, or they self-started or had generational wealth. And a lot of times I feel like they miss the part that being a leader means you have to have some empathy for people who aren't like you.
Yeah, you actually have to be a human.
Oh my God. What's that like? I thought we're all robots. No, but like that's the part of this question that like really made me sad. I was just like, if it's an all woman business and the context of like investing heavily in marketing, like you can invest a ton in marketing to generate revenue. But if your employees are constantly leaving and your talent is declining your offers based on your benefits, I guarantee you, if you did the math, you are probably spending more money on recruitment efforts and replacing people who have left than if you just offered the benefits.
Novel concept.
If you just offer the benefits, just like, and I like, listen, we don't know the intimate financials of this company, but if you can employ 20 people and you can spend money on marketing, you can spend 5 minutes thinking about what benefit, do a cost benefit analysis of benefits. And benefits are confusing for a lot of people, but like if you get a PEO option, like that can be relatively low cost and cover you in a lot of different ways. But I think like my dream would be a world in which no woman has to take unpaid leave to take care of, where no person, I'll even scratch that, where no person has to take unpaid leave to care for new life into this world and potentially other life situations.
Hard stop.
And I know someone's going to come for me and be like, well, it's not how businesses make money and capitalism. And I'm just going to be like, yeah, maybe it's not, but we have read the studies on when employees feel like they are cared for, they feel like they belong and they have good benefits, they are going to show up to work and do better work. And that better work is going to make you profits. And so where I get stuck is like, if the CEO is like a profit finance person, talk about the benefit you are going to get from offering these benefits.
No, 100%. And then that context piece too about the CEO's preference or affinity for marketing. Okay, if that's the language she speaks, then I would maybe approach the conversation about impact on reputation, because if marketing and brand and reputation are, intertwined very closely. And so you can explain or help explain how the lack of benefits can actually damage the company's reputation, assuming, right, that there may be hopes of becoming a bigger org. That means you attract more people with, again, varied lifestyles, with varied needs. And so how do you actually shrink your pool so significantly that you're actually unable to replace the people who leave because you're already not offering it in the first place?
Mic drop. I have nothing to add. That was beautiful. Okay, next question. This one's interesting. I don't know. We'll see where we go with this one. Any tips from moving from operations into people ops? Would you work in HR again if you could do it all over again? Anything you wish you knew? The line, would you work in HR if you could do it all over again? Hold on. Let me give you the context for the person submitting this question. I'm a mid-career operations generalist. I love leading teams, culture, and operationalizing equity. Employment history is progressive nonprofits ranging in size from 3 to 90. Like, this person just loves culture and that type of stuff. Would I work in HR if I could do it all over again? No. I don't know. No, I don't. Actually, I don't know. I feel bad saying that. Maybe I would have ended up just here. I was supposed to be a product manager. I was supposed to be making SaaS, because I'm sassy. Just kidding. That's a terrible joke. No one roasts me for that. That was so bad. I'm a riot today. would I do it all over again? I really, this is so bad. Fine, I would. I'm a glutton for punishment. I would do it all over again. Mm-hmm. Erica, would you do it all over again? Or would you go be like a clinical psychologist and be like, peace?
Well, no, I did that too. And I ran from
Oh, you did that too? Forgot about that. What other life would you go back to that? I'm just kidding.
Oh, gosh. Maybe because I'm a glutton for punishment too. Gosh, would I do it again? Yes, but differently.
How so?
Without getting like super deep, we talk a lot about HR versus people ops. And I don't care what you call it. But when I say that, I'm differentiating between traditional HR and how how it really started and how it originated, and the administrative and the personnel and the, kind of reactive nature of what it used to be and should no longer be.
Yeah.
And then, fast forward to people ops, where the exciting, strategic, proactive, thrive in any environment, one for all for one kind of inclusivity, that is a sweet spot. But not every organization has that sweet spot or is striving for that sweet spot. And so by differently, I mean, I would have been more discerning about where I can show up and do that amazing work that needs to be done.
Yeah. Oh, that just resonates so deeply with me, because I've like worked places where I would have said it was a mistake to work there because I couldn't do the work that I wanted to do. And the impact it had on, I've been talking a lot this whole podcast season about like the impact it had on like my mental health, my like ability to do innovative and creative work, and just like my overall burnout for this industry and this career and everything it is that HR people do. And I would go back and be more discerning. Like, yeah, I would do it all again, but I would try to make sure that I asked good enough questions to understand, can I really do valuable work here? Work that excites me, work that's impactful and innovative.
Yeah. Do we have the same definition of value and impactful work and meaningful work? 100%. One of the things I said to a group of some of my HR friends a while ago was, this work isn't exhausting. It's the environments in which we have to do the work in that make it exhausting. This work is exhilarating when you actually get to do it, and do it without barriers, do it without constraints, do it without naysayers, do it without, non-supporters, do it without incompetent leadership. Like,
you just, yeah, you're right. I love this job. I love this job. And when I can do it in an environment that lets me do it well, and I can make life-changing impact on employees, I go home then feeling so good about myself, because I wish somebody would have done it for me. That's really like what I wake up to do, why I do this job every day. Because I'm like, I have been hurt by bad HR teams. I have had a leader who didn't believe in me. I've had a manager who was biased and only wanted to promote men over me. I've dealt with all these situations where I've been told, like, don't be so vocal, don't be so direct, you're too confident. And I just think, like, I never want to create an environment where someone is getting that type of like ridiculous feedback. And I guess that's what keeps me going every day. Yeah, I would do this job all over again. And I think, like, back to the original question, since you and I just took we just took an existential tangent. The person, I think operations, a lot of people start in operations and end up in people ops. The one thing I will say is that just because you care about company culture and you care about those things does not mean you're going to know how to do it well. So find people who can help you understand how to translate operation skills into people skills, and make sure that you understand the world in which we exist in, because this is a highly regulated field. There are 50 different states with 50 different laws, and at any given point, you are navigating decisions that have legal ramifications. So I think it's a brilliant transition. Okay. Maybe one or two more questions. We'll get to this one. I think this one's really relevant to me, honestly. I'm new to HR and feel like, not the new part. I'm new to HR and I feel like there's constant fires, that part, to put out with employees being upset about things or submitting complaints. Our HR team feels underappreciated and like we can't win. Our organization always thinks we're the bad guys, even though we work so hard and truly care so much about helping the organization. Is this normal or are they just difficult? I'm feeling so discouraged. And the context is it's 200 people in a progressive nonprofit. A lot of nonprofit questions these days.
I know, right?
Nonprofit world, are you all well?
What is happening in the nonprofit world?
We need to help. We need to help them. We are here to help you all. Is it normal to have a team that's like that?
Unfortunately, I would say yes. But here's what I will also say. While what this person is describing is not uncommon, it doesn't make it healthy or fulfilling for anyone. Mm-hmm. So unfortunately, while it may be the norm for a lot of folks, it shouldn't be. I also wanted to start off by saying, first off, welcome. Like, you're new to HR. We're glad you're here because like you've made a very hopefully intentional and conscious decision, like you said earlier, Hiba, like to do good in this world and to make workplaces actually work for people, not the other way around.
Oh, I'm about to cry. I'm not well. That's just the way you said that, Erica. You have like such a calming presence on my life, honestly. But that was beautiful because a lot of people are like new to HR and they're like, what am I even doing here?
Yeah. No, 100%. And I think we all asked ourselves that, like when we were new. So let's be clear. You're not alone. And you're not alone if you're still asking yourself that, because some days.
I literally asked myself that this week. What? Get out of here. I was like, should I be doing this job? Honestly, am I good at this? I ask myself like once a week, like, am I actually good at this job? Or have I just like gaslit myself into thinking I'm good at it?
The only time gaslighting is appropriate.
I know you can't gaslight yourself, okay? Would you like to define gaslighting further? No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Yeah, that's beautiful that you said. I mean, yeah, they made the intentional decision of being here, and it is the norm.
Yeah. My hope for this person, though, and for anyone who's feeling this way, honestly, is that the current environment that they're in doesn't discourage them from pursuing this, because there is great work to be done and there are great places to be doing that work. What I found, I'm going to say two things really quickly, Hiba, and then I'd love to get your take on it, is two things that are paramount in this type of situation, which is one, I found time and time again that a lot of times it's just that people have unrealistic expectations. And unrealistic expectations can ruin what could be an incredibly amazing relationship. And so how does the team help employees and leaders fully understand what it means to be in HR at that organization, what they can expect from HR in that organization, and what they shouldn't expect, and right, not to depend on HR for. And how do we share that in a way that provides the transparency, but also the understanding needed for both sides to align and to go forward? That's number one. Number two is prioritizing that communication. And so I feel like there are a lot of things that I learned sometimes too late, but have used in, subsequent environments around communication. So it's like, how do we, on the onset, especially when you're hiring new people for new functions that never existed, right? In the HR organization or in the organization period, how do you help folks understand what the role means and what you deal with on the daily? And what I mean by that is proactively communicating what you are responsible for and what you're not responsible for, whether it's initiatives, whether it's situations, challenges, and opportunities. How do you also consistently seek feedback? That was the one thing that, gosh, I wish someone had told me much, much sooner in my career, which is, am I regularly checking in to just understand what their understanding is? Just because I get it and I think I'm being clear does not mean it is landing the way that I intend. So how am I continuously checking in just to make sure, like, hey, when we last rolled out X, did you know X did Y? Did you know you could do Z with X? Like, where's the feedback loop, right? Where is that opportunity? And then am I also providing training or resources that allow people from a self-service perspective, keep up to speed with what we're doing, how we're doing it, and why?
Yeah. Oof, that was just like a master class in dealing with nonsense with people at work. The people are always going to complain. I worked in like retail. I worked like several retail jobs. Like as a teenager, that's the job you get. My first job was at Old Navy, fun fact. I wanted a job because I wanted an iPod, and my parents were like, we're not going to buy you this iPod. That's ridiculous. And then truly I worked all summer made $6.25 an hour, and I got myself an iPod at the end of the summer. It was a whole big achievement of mine. 16 years old.
I love that.
But I just got used to like people are always going to complain about stuff. That's why like you will find me at a restaurant or like in an Uber at the nail salon. I'm so bad at I'm never like that. I'm always like, please, can you like someone could like make my meal wrong and I'd be like, can you please take this back? Like I just don't want this. So I just think about that because like people are always complaining about at work. There's never a day, never in my life of working in HR that someone hasn't decided that they have a brilliant idea about how HR should work or a complaint about how I did something and that their opinion, despite my decade plus of experience, is actually more valid than my experience. And I just had to learn to let that shit go. I am like, why am I defensive? I don't have to be defensive. This person's going to say something outrageous. I guarantee you they're not going to understand why it is be configured that way, what is the actual impact or why it's done that way. And maybe like I failed in the communication. So that communication piece I always go back to. I'm like, I could have communicated. And I also tell people the sickest trick I've ever learned is to ask people for feedback, even though you know exactly how you're going to do the thing, but just ask them for feedback. Just ask them. And then when you decide to do it differently, you just say, hey, I loved your feedback, but here's what I decided to do instead. Your feedback actually opened up my mind about this other thing, and here's what I'm going to do. And
your feedback was so inspiring.
Your feedback was so inspiring. I actually went and did this thing, which was exactly the thing I was going to do before I took your feedback, but now you know. It helps you win. We're playing a game constantly as in HR of relationship management. And every employee is going to bring in previous relationships with HR, and they're going to either distrust you or like you. Most of the time, I would say they probably distrust you because there are a lot of bad HR teams out there. So then we have to think about how do we win these people over and help them know that we hear them. All they want to do at the end of the day, every employee just wants to be heard. If you find a mechanism to get their feedback, make them feel heard, spend 15 minutes with them doing something, create like a committee to review your performance management process and take their feedback and let people opt in or opt out, you would be surprised how the complaints just disappear. Or you just have particularly nasty employees and they feel like complaining, which is also real.
100%. And look, at the end of the day, too, my hope for folks who are in HR, new to HR, or want to get into HR, people ops, et cetera, my hope is that it is not about making everyone happy because you will never do that, ever. I don't care what role you're in, but to expect that out of HR, especially, no.
I always let people's unhappiness roll right on off me. I'm like, it's impossible. If I made you happy every day, we probably wouldn't even have a company. Like, I got to work on some other things. Okay. I mean, like, we'll never make everyone happy, Erica. You're so right. But we'll make everyone happy on this podcast because we're going to do one more question. I've just had so much fun with you today. Like, I just have to do. Okay, this last question, I have to do it because I've been here and we should talk about it. Okay, here's the question. I am a curvier woman who recently got a call from HR with no prior heads up about how my dresses and skirts are on the shorter side. We do not have a dress code in our employee handbook, and I was told to do business casual. I wear work dresses and formal skirts that I had never had a problem with in my previous corporate roles. They had never spoken to me about this before and couldn't give examples or clear guidelines, just to use my judgment, and that if it makes it easier, you don't have to wear skirts and dresses in the office. I'm embarrassed and feeling helpless. What can I do? Context, small company, also a nonprofit. Man, we really need to help the nonprofit world. High turnover across 20 plus years. CEO is the only constant.
If it makes it easier for who?
Oh, for this person, obviously.
Oh, of course, because that's why she's chosen to wear dresses and skirts, because it does make it easier for her.
Mm-hmm.
So who's uncomfortable?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, look. To whoever wrote this, the first thing I would say is there's a lot you can do, right? You asked, what can you do? There's a lot you can do. But for me, the better question, or the question I would be asking myself, is what can I do that's actually worth doing? Because there are going to be battles. and challenges that are just not worthy of you, worthy of your time, worthy of your energy, worthy of your brilliance, worthy of you. And so I would be asking, is what I want to do worthy of me? Aside from that, based on these details, this reeks of bias. I mean, I smell it through the computer screen.
Sniff the BS.
Vague instructions about use your judgment. I'm going to assume she did when she got dressed. But that's just like incredibly unacceptable, especially considering that you don't have a handbook or have anything clearly stated about what is and is not unacceptable. So then the call that was made by HR was based on what and whom. And again, like, okay, look, okay, I'm just gonna sum this up and then Hiba go because I can't. Okay. Also, the lack of prior feedback implies the issue is much deeper and it's not about clothing. And also the note about high turnover. For such a small company, like 10 to 15 employees, that gives me such strong pause to have such high turnover at a company where you're already at a very low number. So it suggests a much deeper issue that, quite honestly, was never about this employee, but now has become about this employee.
Yeah.
And I'm just not here for it. Like,
I read this question and was triggered because, like, I have a curvier body. Not that I need to tell all of you that, but here we are. And I, too, have had feedback about, hey, that dress is like a little too tight. And it was like a very business professional dress. And I was like, what do you mean it's too tight? It literally fits my body just like a normal dress would fit anyone's body. And it really made me uncomfortable at the time. I then started just like wearing baggy shirts and baggy pants. And I felt like I wanted to crawl inside my skin and die. And in a society night and day that tries to tell women we're not thin enough, we're not pretty enough, we're not smart enough, I felt like so taken aback in the environment I was in. And instead, my version was I just crawled into my skin. And I made sure my shirts were long enough and that they were baggy enough. And I kept buying things one size too big because I just never wanted that attention on me. And I hated it so much. And reading this and hearing that this person feels helpless, I am so sorry. And that environment is so deeply biased. And there's something probably rotten at its core. And you deserve to wear, if there's no dress code to tell you what you can and cannot wear, then you could show up in your bathing suit. If there's no dress code, they can't tell you no. Truthfully. We work from home. You think we're telling people you can't wear pajama bottoms? No, but if they go into an office. And so I just want to say, like, my heart goes out to this person because I've been in that situation. I think a lot of women feel sexualized at work in ways that we wish weren't true, but that we show up to work and the level of sexual harassment that goes unreported to HR teams is abhorrent. So like, I really feel for this person. And I would anchor back to like what Erica said, is this even worthy of your time? And if there's no dress code, the burden should not be placed on you to decide what is to use your judgment. That is so fucking whack. So, damn, I'm just mad now.
I me too.
Like that just like brings back such bad memories. And I don't know. I've worked in corporate environments where I have felt like women, like as a woman, so unsafe. And so I can only imagine that this person probably feels very triggered, very targeted, and very unsafe in their own environment.
I mean, 10 to 15 employees, like, yeah.
No, they need, I would go back to them. So if you're listening to this and this was your question, I would go back to them and say, you need to define the policy in a formal HR handbook. Otherwise, I will continue to wear what I would choose to wear. And you should not feel bad about your skirts and your dresses. You should not.
No. Until the rules change,
deeply,
do you?
Yeah, until the rules change, you are in fair game and do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Okay, wow, we're ending like heated. We came in heated. We went down in existential. Now we ended heated. This has been such a fun episode, Erica. Like, I want to do one of these every season with you, but actually, we're going to do this we're going to do that one where we explore the inner workings of me as a person on a podcast.
Yes.
It's going to be like that Where Do We Begin podcast, but instead of couples, it's just about me. I also love Where Do We Begin. It's a very fascinating read. It'll be like therapy, but for me and everyone I force to listen to this podcast. Anyways, if you love this podcast, you can like it, leave me a review on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. The reviews do really nice things. This podcast has been trending really well. It's been like in the top 30 of business management podcasts, which is a celebration. And I couldn't do it with all of you wonderful people. So thank you. Now, to end this lovely episode, Erica, how can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn quite a bit, following amazing thought leaders like Hibba herself. So Erica J. Spitali on LinkedIn. Just be on the lookout. I am in transition and excited about what's next for me. So, coming to a company near you very soon.
Any organization would be so fucking lucky to have you. Dude, you are amazing, Erica. I'm so glad we did this, and you are coming back next season. I have now committed to you, and now that's on the record, so everybody who's listening to this is expecting it. So
accountability.
Thank you so much. Accountability. I'm honored you joined me today, and we dropped some knowledge, and I'm so thankful for you. So thank you again.
Thank you, Hibba. I appreciate you.
Yay.